Hi, this is Greg Kilstrom. Welcome to Season 3 of the Agile World, where we discuss customer and employee experience, organizational and workforce transformation, and how business can adapt and continually improve in an agile age. The Agile World podcast is brought to you by TEKsystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. To read more about the topics discussed in this show, you can go to my website at theagile.world and read my latest articles, or get a copy of my latest book, The Agile Workforce, now available on Amazon and other retailers. My name is Greg Kilstrom, and I'm the host of the Agile World podcast. Welcome to a special episode of the show brought to you in partnership with Arlington Economic Development, where we discuss issues related to the workforce, the role of place in the future of work, and the role of the creative sector in a larger business context. We call this Return on Creativity. Today, we're going to talk about why it's so important for organizations to invest in internships and training for new employees, and different ways for organizations to find new employees. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Steve Cooper, CEO at Exelaration. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, Greg, great to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to talking with you. So first, for those listening, why don't you tell us a little bit about Exelaration and your focus there?
Yeah, well, I'm coming to you from the Exelaration Center down here in Blacksburg, Virginia, and we do something that I don't think anybody else does, and that is we have built a consulting organization that builds software for our clients. Now, that itself is not particularly unique, except for the fact that most of the staff on our projects are undergraduate, top student engineers, juniors and seniors at Virginia Tech and Radford University, and we'll soon be expanding to more universities. So what this enables us to do, obviously, is bring a really cost-effective, high-capacity, talented team to the problems that our clients have building software, and we're tapping into an unconventional talent source.
Let's start here by talking about the importance of internships and the model that you've created from the employer perspective. So Exelaration created what's called the Professional Internship Organization, or the PIO model. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it's beneficial to organizations?
When you think about internships, a lot of organizations have programs in, Amazon, Capital One, Microsoft. These are award-winning programs that you read about in Forbes and other magazines. But your average run-of-the-mill startup firm, your Main Street firms, your early stage firms, they don't either have the bandwidth or the resources to launch their own internship program. So they're missing out on tapping into this incredible unconventional talent source, which has a lot of capacity and a lot of talent. So we decided, hey, why don't we bring that innovation? Why don't we bring that service to every firm and not just let interns be used by the very largest of the firms? So that's what a professional internship organization is. We at Exelaration are a PIO, or internship as a service. A lot of folks call it that. And so we're offering internship as a service to every firm, whether it's a startup, an association, a Main Street firm, a mid-sized firm, a nonprofit. All these organizations can now tap into software engineering interns without having to launch and oversee their own program.
That's great. I think that's such a great idea. I'm a firm believer in interns. I've in my various companies, I've often hired interns, to start as an intern in an internship and then hire them full time. It's it's such a great way to do a lot of. You can teach the intern stuff, but also just find great talent.
Yes.
Which I think is so important. And I think that kind of leads to the next question here, which is, we're going through what some are calling the Great Resignation. So many employees looking at different employers reconsidering their career paths in the first place. Some of this brought on for lots of different reasons, but because of this, a large percentage of employees are looking for new work, but employers are looking for new talent. So do you think this helps make the case for companies to look at some alternative recruiting sources like interns to fill seats, as well as just alternative methods to get work done? How does your model help that?
Well, we help it in both ways. You need the work done, and yet 40% of technology seats, if you will, are vacant, meaning that a typical company, for every 10 software engineering positions that they have, only six are filled. And that's a terrible statistic because it means a lot of code that needs to be written isn't getting written. At the same time, you have a lot of poaching going on. People are being stolen, if you will, from high rise, on block A over to high rise on block B, being paid a big signing bonus to switch over, and it's only benefiting the recruiting firms. To be honest with you, it's not benefiting the industry at large because at any given point, as I said, most companies are 40% understaffed in terms of their technology delivery organizations, and yet there sits an amazing, incredibly large talent source at undergraduate universities that are ready to code, eager to code. And by the way, interns feature a much higher retention rate. As you said, when you hire that intern, Greg, when they start with you, they're much more likely to stay with you for a longer period of time because of the loyalty that you showed them and because they've grown up with your organization and really appreciate the culture, the environment, the bosses, the tools, all of that. And they weren't, recruited as a hired gun, so to speak. They grew up with your organization as the first step in their career. They're incredibly loyal. So it's a great benefit all around if we can tap into that unconventional talent source that's sitting there eager to contribute.
I've got my own answer to this question I'm going to ask you because I work with a lot of enterprise orgs that are going through like digital transformations and big integration initiatives and things like that. But my assumption is these positions that you're filling, they're pretty critical right now for for the things I just mentioned, as well as the resignations. And what are some of the roles and applications specifically that seem to be challenging to fill, and are those some of the ones that you're able to fill as well?
Well, absolutely. I mean, they are very critical. We're working with biomedical firms. We are working with community banking firms. We're working with a wind power energy company. So you think about the missions of those companies and how software technology is going to make those companies come to life and help those companies serve more and more customers. I mean, how many more kilowatts can we generate with wind power? The only thing preventing that is the wind power companies, like our clients, need systems built. They need systems that are going to bill and invoice correctly. And those systems don't build themselves, and they're somewhat custom. And that's what we're building. So that code, those lines of code are going to save lives. They improve lives. They save money, and they create a lot more efficiency and higher quality of life in the world. When that code doesn't get written or when that code is delayed because of a lack of staff, we all suffer because of that. And again, it's just such a great way to get that code written if you can harness a whole new source of talent instead of just poaching it from the building next door.
And to kind of follow on to that, these are students at some top universities that are writing this code. So these aren't just random applicants to to an internship program. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the rigor that they're going through in their studies and stuff like that, and why you chose to partner with the universities that you did?
Yes, we selected Virginia Tech to put our acceleration center at because we knew that they had such a stellar population of top engineers across all kinds of engineering, not just software engineering, but you have civil engineering, mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, biomedical. It runs the gamut, and yet at Virginia Tech, we're able to hire amazing interns who come to us already with an enthusiasm and a passion for software development and channel them into a pretty rigorous professional development progression that we have that goes through everything from agile methodologies to client stakeholder relationships to database and design technologies to DevOps and production deployment practices. All of those things are things that are either not taught in the classroom or they're not taught early on. And so we're supplementing what they're learning in the classroom with our acceleration based competency progression. And so our students are able very quickly to add value to our clients on our acceleration teams so that, they're adding value almost from week one. And certainly by the time our clients have used acceleration for 2 or 3 or 5 semesters, you see tremendous productivity gains there. And a lot of times what ends up happening is those top engineering students become so enamored with and excited about the opportunities at our clients that they end up going to work for our clients. And that's another benefit that acceleration provides to our local university communities. We're able to introduce and connect our acceleration interns to the local Virginia employers that are here and companies that you may not have heard of yet, but companies that are doing amazing things in terms of state of the art engineering or state of the art technology that are the inventions of tomorrow. And those are the companies that top engineers really, really want to work for. And we're able at Acceleration to connect them to those.
Having hired software engineers over the years, it's the one kind of hesitance that I would always have with an entry level engineer is just the lack of understanding of some of that process stuff that you mentioned. And
Yes. Yeah.
because you don't have the experience. I mean, it's not the student's fault, because they just haven't had that work experience. But I mean, that's really interesting, and really, I think that's really valuable, and it adds the component that, I mean, many companies have people that are coaches and maybe able to get entry level people up to speed eventually, but that time to productivity and time to value on new hires, I mean, it's just as important for entry level as it is for more senior. So that's great that's in place.
Right. And when we're saying, why not push that learning earlier than the diploma? Why not back it up? And instead of having it occur, after somebody graduates and occur on, a full-time salary at their first employer, why not have that occur during an internship that happens at the undergrad level? So when that person emerges with their diploma, whether they go to that employer or some other employer, they are much more productive and they can accelerate their contributions much earlier. So they can be brought online as really a full-fledged developer, from week one, rather than having to incur that learning curve that you mentioned about process and even people relationships. A lot of developers have never even, when they come out of college, attended a meeting yet. And obviously our students at Acceleration have attended lots of them. So they not only know how to attend them, but they know how to run them, and they're serving as scrum masters. So those types of experiences, you really want to get those experiences earlier than what typically happens in the typical career model.
So let's switch gears here now and look at this from the student or the intern's perspective. And we definitely just touched on this a bit already, but just kind of thinking through from that individual's experience. So we already kind of mentioned some of the downsides to not getting some of this experience, but what are there any other reasons from the student's perspective to be part of a program like this, and what they can gain from it?
Yeah, the main benefit is not making the wrong choice after they graduate. If they can experience the work environment in an internship model prior to graduation, they're much less likely to choose the wrong job for themselves, once they get out, because it's analogous to dating before marriage. If you're going to graduate and the first time you have a chance to do any work in your chosen field is your first employer, that's tantamount to saying, well, I never dated before I got
Right.
married, right? We want you to know, hey, I like working for small companies, or I don't like working alone, or I really love flexibility in my job environment. There's all kinds of personal preferences that people find out about. Then you really can't learn that about yourself until you're thrown into a real environment. And then you say, gosh, I really hate working in a team environment. I'm a lone wolf. I like to work on my own. And so that type of thing, that type of revelation about yourself, they discover in the acceleration program. And so what ends up happening is when they're then looking at the ultimate job they're going to take out of college, they can make a much, much wiser choice. And obviously, it's not the end of the world. They can resign and take another job if they do end up making the wrong choice. But it's so much better if they can end up in the right employer right out of school rather than kind of experimenting, under a salaried environment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so great, man. I wish I would have had that. I might have
Yes.
made a slightly different decision right out of college. But
Yes.
hey,
Yes. We hear that a lot. True.
live and learn, you know. But
Right.
no, that's great. Well, yeah, and the program, it's as the internship programs go, has been ranked very highly, and um, compared to other internship programs. Why do you think that is? What makes it unique versus some of the other programs that are out there?
Well, the one thing that makes it unique that I talked about at the beginning of the broadcast is that acceleration is deploying our teams into client environments. So we're not an in-house internship program from the standpoint of the work. So we give our students, our developing developers, so much experience in lots of different industries and lots of different domains. So they're learning Java, Python, .NET. They're also learning, as I said, Agile and database. And then finally, they're exposed to fintech, blockchain, biomedical, and healthcare, all of these industries. You never get that kind of experience in any other program because most internship programs are really under one roof. So we're the only one and that probably contributes to the Acceleration's top rating. But another great part about the program is that we're giving them lots of chances to work with a full mentor. I mean, all of our internships are fully mentored. So we have a full-time staff who is the senior engineering team that oversees these projects and that are the billable resources and project managers themselves. So you're getting fully mentored, plus you're getting a whole professional development curriculum, which is a competency progression that's kind of the backbone of the program that you're learning alongside your classroom learning. So it's really a great program. Obviously, we'd love to expand the acceleration program, and we're continuing to do that at more universities so that we can serve more clients and bring more students. We have over 100 alumni from the program now, and we can't wait till we get to the milestones of 200, 300, and 1,000 acceleration alumni.
That's really great. And just for companies that might be interested in that, what's the process to see if acceleration could be a good fit?
Well, all you have to do is reach out to us. We're at acceleration.com. I'm sure there's something on the podcast that can help them understand how to spell that,
Yeah,
or I
I'll
can
put a
spell it
link.
out.
I'll put
Yeah.
a link to the site.
Yeah, and we're always meeting with new prospective clients all the time. Some of them want to get started right away. Just before this podcast, in fact, we were meeting with one that's probably going to start this week, and it's Thursday already, so they are really in a hurry. Other companies, have the notion that they need to introduce more technology to their environments and build a talent pipeline, and yet they want to start 6 or 12 months from now, depending on their strategic plans. So we're used to all kinds of timeframes and all kinds of different scopes. We have projects that are only one student large, up to projects that are 7 or 8 students. So all kinds of sizes and technologies and domains. We're used to working across everything. So we're just hoping to give as many opportunities as we can and blur that line between work and learning. It shouldn't be a thick black line that happens at graduation.
Well, one last question before we wrap up here. I mentioned the Great Resignation, as they're calling it, and just recent events has certainly turned the job market a bit upside down. Do you think this is what effect do you think this is having on the internship market and programs in general, and what should companies keep in mind, because of this?
Well, it might be to my own detriment, but I'm interested in seeing every company engage interns no matter how they do it. So, launching your own internship program or engaging a professional internship organization like Acceleration, just get in the game because the great resignation means everybody's losing people. Now, I guess it also means everybody's gaining people because they're going somewhere. But all of this turnover is not great news. And it means it's a big flashing neon sign for all of us to read that says, engage other sources of talent. Don't just keep going back to the same well over and over again, doubling your signing bonuses, doubling your recruiting budgets, and hiring more headhunters. That doesn't really get it done. You've got to look in other places, and engaging interns is one great way to do that. There are also veterans. There are folks on the spectrum that are great contributors. There are semi-retired people, career changers, all kinds of other talent sources that ought to be tapped, instead of just going and assuming I need someone with a college degree and 3 to 5 years experience. Those buzzwords need to be killed off from all of our classified ads right now, because it's not working. We've got to look at other unconventional places, and I think that's what the Great Resignation is teaching all of us.
Well, Steve, thanks so much for joining. For those listening, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you and keep up with what you're doing?
Go to Exelaration.com or nextupsolutions.com, and we're happy to respond. I'm right there on both web pages. We're one company and 2 different web pages, so I'm happy to meet and connect with anybody at any time.
Wonderful. Well, again, I'd like to thank Steve Cooper, CEO at Exelaration, for joining the show. To learn more about Return on Creativity, brought to you by the Agile World and Arlington Economic Development, please go to returnoncreativity.com. Thanks for listening to the Agile World with Greg Kihlstrom. See you next week. Thanks again for listening to the Agile World podcast, brought to you by Tech Systems. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe on your podcast channel of choice and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can learn more and get a copy of my latest book, The Agile Workforce, from my website at theagile.world.